Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are driving this. This is the new C43 AMG Mercedes, of course. I love the styling of this car. I think it's a beautiful looking design. I'm glad Mercedes is actually still making sedans. This one is in lunar blue, which is an optional, I do believe, $750 option. We also have the optional 20-inch wheels, which I think looks great. These are 265mm wide tires in the rear end. We have this internal rim as well, an AMG down here, and we have two 45mm wide tires in front. Still 20-inch wheels. I love that Mercedes is putting 20 inches all around. The turbo electrified. BMW, as you know, sometimes they put 19s in the front and 20s in the rear. The overall design of this, I think it's beautiful because we do still have these two beautiful waves in the hood that's been around for Mercedes for a very long time. We have the frowning grille now instead of the smiling grille. Overall, it's a beautiful looking car. So let's pop the hood and let's see what's powering this C43 AMG these days, because we do have not a 6-cylinder anymore. We do have a 4-cylinder turbo engine, which is something that some people might not approve of, but when we take this for a drive, I'm going to show you exactly why this is still a very good engine. So 2-liter inline 4 turbocharged, 401 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds, or 4.4. Officially it's 3.9, but it's actually a little slower than that from people who have tested this car in real life and done the 0 to 60. You have a 9-speed automatic, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel biased, and you also have this turbo here that does have a small little electric motor inside of it to pre-spool the turbo. Some Formula One technology there. Let's jump in and have a look at this design and this interior, which I think looks beautiful, specifically this steering wheel. So let's jump in here, have a look at the sticker as well, and what type of options we have with this C43 and the base price. So the base price here comes out to $59,900. This one is spec to $72,630. And you can pause the video here if you want to see all these options. Here you have the lunar blue, sienna brown, black leather as well, which is a $1,620 option. So it is optioned decently. I would personally want to have the trim pieces going around the windows, for example, and the rear diffuser. I want to have that be in black. You can get that in black for the C43. I would probably get it in silver as well. We have a 11.9-inch infotainment screen right here, which looks pretty sweet. I love what Mercedes is doing with their software. You have a lot of different functions in here. Go into settings, you can fiddle around with all these assistance, driver assist settings. Go into vehicle, you have driving, comfort, change that, occupant protection, open, close, light settings, a lot of ambient lighting in here, which Mercedes sort of have been known for. If you want to, you can even turn this around like this. This is actually the exact color that I would choose for my Mercedes. The only change I would do here is, you see these tailpipes and the diffuser is all silver. I want to have that be black. And if we go into, for example, check this out, we have comfort here. You have some seat kinetics, which is not really massage, it's the lower seat, or creates some interesting waves in the seats when you're sitting in them. I'm not sure what the purpose is, but it sort of feels good, or it definitely feels interesting. Go into performance here, we have the tire pressure. The front right tire seems to be having a small little leak in this specific car. You have the brake meter here, you can see all the graphics, the accelerator as well. And if we put it into Sport Plus, listen to this. Gets a little deeper in its rumble, and it also sounds pretty good. Some pops and bangs on the let off of the gas. Going into engine here, you have the horsepower and torque consumption as well. So nice system from Mercedes. Obviously you do get Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as well. Start button up here, you have this gauge cluster, which is 12.3 inches. You can configure this exactly how you want this to be. Even the internal pieces of whatever graphics you have or design you have can be changed. Here you can change all these layouts. You can have it be in classic, which has this more tachometer and speedometer classic look to it. I like to keep it in, I can show you. You can also have the full map, which looks, if you don't, then you have like dual maps, one at the gauge cluster and one at the infotainment screen. I like to keep it in super sport here. You also have track pace for the tracks if you want to go and do that someday. I keep it in super sport, and doesn't really matter what type of info I have in the middle. However, you see this big head-up display. I hope you can see how big the tachometer is up there. You can change that as well, so you can have all these different layouts. Let's keep it in minimal for now, just to have the speedometer laid out in front of us so it doesn't distract too much. I love the vents up here as well. Nice looking rear seats. If you can see here, you do have 4-zone climate controls in this car, 2 for the passengers and 2 of course up front here. So with that said, let's take this for a quick drive and let me show you what this C43 is all about and what it's like to drive this car. I do think Mercedes has done a great job with this car, specifically the design. The design, exterior and interior, this has this weird little angle to it, which is fine, I guess. It doesn't bother me when I'm driving the car, but if I sit in the middle of the rear seats, you can see that it's tilted that way by 6 degrees. I just want to have it be centered like we have in the new AMG GT, for example. It looks clear. That's an interesting looking Range Rover. Pretty worn down, at least the exterior of it. I love the burps on the upshift. Downshift, you do have some pops and bangs from the exhaust as well. Now, it doesn't sound too loud on the exterior because of the regulations that we have, specifically in Europe. They're very strict with the noise regulations over there. So we have a lot of sound pumped into the cabin, which again, you just use what you have. You figure out what you need to do with the regulations and the rules that you have to play by. And I do think Mercedes has done a great job with this pumped in audio. It doesn't bother me at all. I think it adds to the driving experience since we can't have super loud cars these days. Now, if you have the suspension setting right here in Firm or Sport Plus, it is very raw, and that I like that because it is still an AMG, and you want to have some rawness in this car. And I think AMG should always have a setting that feels almost like a race car in the suspension and the handling, and this definitely has that with Sport and with everything put in Sport Plus. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but there is something rattling in this area, and I can't figure out what it is. And it's very unlike Mercedes to have that sort of rattle. I'm not sure if you can hear it now. There's something in this area. I've tried to figure out what it is, but I can't find it. And it's pretty annoying when you're just driving slow to hear that rattle from this area. So let's floor it here. Let's go. And there is a turbo. So we're going uphill here. So it is a pretty fast car. It's not super fast. You're not afraid of stepping on the gas. Still a very fun car to drive. You do have rear wheel steering in this car as well, which definitely is going to help with the overall handling. I do love this gearbox. It's 9-speed gearbox. Super quick, and it sounds great on the both upshifts and the downshifts. Oh yeah. If you feel like you've had enough fun on the roads and you just want to glide and cruise around in comfort, all you got to do is just turn this knob down here, this dial, put it into comfort, and everything becomes super calm in here. It feels like a normal, regular C-Class when you have it in comfort. So you have two completely different personalities of this car, which is one thing I like about the drive modes in Mercedes. They feel very different from each other, and that's exactly what you want. Now, the big question is, does it still feel like a mad AMG car, even with this 2-liter 4-cylinder? And I do think Mercedes has done a great job. It's not the old school AMG where you have sounds like, you know, thunder coming down on you when you're stepping on the gas, because you can't really do that with a 4-cylinder. When it comes to the driving characteristics of this car, I do think it still feels like a proper AMG, and that in combination with this fantastic exterior and, I have to say, interior design, even though we do have two big screens in here, I do think they're much better integrated than the screens we have in BMWs, for example. With that, all that combined, I think it's a great car. It's gorgeous, it drives well. Would you buy this over a BMW M340i though? That is the question. I personally think I would go with Mercedes for one. If it wasn't for the exterior design, it's gonna have to be for the interior design. This just looks so much cleaner in the interior than BMW's iDrive 8 or 8.5 system that they have with the dual screens right now. So for that reason, I would pick this C43 AMG.